What type of modalities? I don't know if you covered that in your study, but in that particular study, but what type of modalities did you see to be most effective for that mental rehabilitation? Because I know we've talked about like neurolinguistic programming. I'm working with somebody right now that you referred me to with that, and I'm working on that for my own coaching as well. Um, so there's like that side of things, but then there's also like the traditional, I guess, psychotherapeutic route. Have you seen one or the other to be more prominent or
So,
more helpful?
assuming we're working at the same time, so they know the injury is manageable, it just needs X, Y, Z, then at the same time to build up that confidence if they need that to return to play or to actually rehabilitate trauma. They're quite different things. So when you look at psychology, you would have heard in sports of performance psychology. So this is when you give someone a whole set of mental skills to help them get through a performance. And it's sort of like a very well-known musician friend of mine said, it's like when you have mental skills, it's like a whole bunch of cards in your pocket so that
Absolutely.
if life throws something at you, you've got another card to pull out and you can adapt. So for all musicians, they should be getting some mental skills, and you need to practice them before the moment. You don't want to get on stage
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
say, "Oh, that's right, I was meant to do visualization," and like
Right.
try it for the first time when you're stressed. That's not going to go down so well. So practicing things like mental skills is crucial, even if you have to do these like virtual reality kind of things where you imagine you're in this upcoming concert, or you have these now these studios where you have these artificial concert halls you can play in and things to try and
Oh, cool.
prepare for it. And yeah, it's very cool new technology. But on the other side, you have people who've sometimes had quite sadly trauma through their training, maybe trauma
Right.
associated with playing the instrument, or that they have just had some severe episodes of music performance anxiety or depression or something like that. It could be just something that they suffer from, a genetic thing or something like this. And it's making sure, so for those sort of things, that's when psychotherapy and things like meditation, even positive self-talk, all these things can come in very useful when you really have a problem you need to deal with. And I think if you have something and there is an associated trauma or an event that's occurred that you're really struggling to get over, whether it's personal or musical, you really need professional psychological guidance through that. With mental skills training, it's a bit different. You're trying to get tools in your toolkit. And so there might be things like NLP. A lot of people find mindfulness quite helpful so that you can look at your short-term gains and still be constructive and positive instead of always saying, "Oh, I'm not there yet," and kind of having this feeling of failure where you're really doing well and you're improving. You just need to sort of have more realistic goal setting and things. So there's a lot of mental skills that can be taught to musicians, and that's a different pathway, as I said, from people who've really suffered trauma. And as one example with the orchestra study I was talking about before, one very interesting finding we had as we analysed their we did this big physical and psychological survey and a physical examination of all the musicians. But with the psychological survey, what we found is that, I mean, to be fair, a lot of the experienced musicians were trying to use positive self-talk and meditation and some strategies like this. Um, Quite a lot, as we see across the board, we're talking about using beta blockers, and yet very few of them had seen a doctor or psychologist or psychiatrist from them. There seemed to be a bit of passing it around in the green room kind of thing. And
Right.
the problem with that was what we also found was that a lot of people who thought they had anxiety, actually, if you look at all these scales, so the way you use surveys can sort of help indicate what kind of mental health issue might be affecting you if that's there. And a lot of the people who perceived they had music performance anxiety and were taking beta blockers actually really seemed to clearly have depression problems. And the problem
Interesting.
is beta blockers are essentially kind of a depressant. So you're depressed and you're taking a depressant, so you won't get the outcome you're looking for there. And So I think the big thing that came out of that was saying, guys, if you're feeling you're struggling, please don't feel alone. Go and see a professional who can
Sure.
really guide you in the right direction, because it's not going to mirror. It's not always the same pathway you'll need to take.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's that's another through line I think I see with athletes and musicians is, or a through line I'd like to see, I guess, is the a lot of, at least what I see as an emerging field in sports psychology, is this like mindset coaching,
Uh-huh.
and peak performance type of stuff, and I feel like we want to get there as musicians,
Yeah.
but it's taking a little bit to get that ball rolling.
But I think there's like three different things in a way. Like there's the health professionals, where if you have an injury, or really you're struggling with anxiety or other mental health problems, or like you've got tinnitus, you've got ringing in your ears, this is the time to see a health professional, just to get a clear idea of what's going wrong. And then you, as the musician, can make some informed choices about what you then want to do to manage it. Like, first step is really knowing what's wrong. And even if you love your music teacher, and the guy who sits next to you in a section's the best, they still are not trained necessarily in diagnosing what's wrong. But once you have that diagnosis, then the choice of how you manage these pathways is very helpful, because often you can do things like, there's a lot of methods in that musicians study, like you have Feldenkrais or Alexander
Right.
technique or body mapping, or there's a whole lot of methods that musicians study. Now, they're not health training per se, they're like movement methods, or counseling, mental coaching sort of methods that are all useful, but they're not about a diagnosis. They're about giving you some strategies, right? But you should, if you've had something that's more a substantial lingering problem of some kind, you should really get a clarity on what it is. And then you'll feel a bit more strong in choosing the pathways you choose to get back. So I say we have the multidisciplinary kind of health team. And then you have this kind of, I usually call them performance support team, for want of a better word. I sort of say, you have the health team, the performance support team, that would be your coaches, like this kind of NLP or whatever it is, the various kinds of fantastic sort of music coaching that's starting to come through, as well as the body coaching, or teachers like from all those body methods. And then we have the music teachers, your colleagues, this sort of thing, where what I've been doing with things like the Embouchure Project, and always in conversations with orchestras, saying, yeah, the stats tell us that most musicians will have an issue from time to time. So be nice to each other. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Amen to
it's
that.
that simple. Really, I think that's the important thing, because positive support during times that are tough makes a big difference to your recovery.
Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of Trust the Process, the official podcast of Musician Unchained, the newest coaching program dedicated to helping musicians navigate and overcome injury. But before you go, I have a few quick ways you can stay connected and support our growing community. First of all, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a text with the link below and share your thoughts, questions, or just say hi. You can also check the show out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We also would love to see you in our Facebook support group, Trust the Process Podcast Injured Musician Support Group. If you found value in today's episode, consider making a donation to support our mission of empowering musicians worldwide. Every contribution helps us create more content and resources for you. So visit link number 2 below to support the mission. If you decide to donate, I'll send you my newest resource, the Injured Musician Toolkit, which is an ebook designed to give you tools to help you get through your injury. Subscribe to our newsletter to get exclusive insights, tips, sneak previews of episodes, and announcements straight to your inbox. Act now and I will send you a free gift. So sign up at www.musicianunchained.com/newsletter. And if you or someone you know would like to go deeper with me in the topics of injury and mindset, head over back to musicianunchained.com and check out the Let's Hang tab. As always, I want to thank Daniel Baldwin, my audio engineer, and my sister Dana Lovell for her help with the promotional materials. There is no podcast without them. Before I go, I want to tell you how much I deeply appreciate your time and support. You are not alone on this journey. There are musicians and educators out there who need this resource, and we need to get it to them. Together, we are breaking the chain of old habits and thought patterns that don't serve us anymore, and unchaining the potential within ourselves to face each challenge with strength and resilience. So, as I always say, keep on keeping on and keep trusting the process. Until next time.